Welcome back to the somewhat improved SeriouslyGhetto workshop. That really just amounted to putting a new cutting board on top of the little table I got set up here that I work on. In this installment, I was gonna fire up this DAL265 for the first time. Thought I'd share that with you. Everything has come out pretty well so far. I finished this earlier. It's actually 3 o'clock in the morning, so it was yesterday when I finished it. I just haven't gotten around to firing it up, and I kind of wanted to do a video to share that, what I do. Now it's missing a couple of things. The buzzer fell apart in my hand. It didn't fit well, and I tried to move it, and it just came apart, so I got to get another buzzer. And what I had planned for the LEDs wasn't going to work out well, because the rear one will be okay, but the front one I probably wouldn't be able to see when I needed to see it. So I got to put a little more thought into that, but that's fairly trivial. I can live without it for now. So the plan here is, first I'm going to hook it up and connect to CleanFlight, just make sure everything's working that way. If everything looks good there, then I'm going to plug it in to the battery and see if we can't calibrate the ESCs, and then spin the motors up one at a time to verify the direction of spin. And I also want to make note of the minimum RPM of each motor where it runs steady. And I'll use that information in the next segment where we'll go into BLHeli Suite, and I'll show you how you can use the pass-through function of CleanFlight to connect the ESCs to BLHeli Suite to update the firmware and adjust some settings in there that'll really kind of smooth things out for you if you're into that. Now, these ESCs would probably work just fine like they are, but I kind of like to do this, and it may interest you to know too. So without any further ado, let's during this part, some of this with CleanFlight, if I have to look away, I'm sorry, I wear trifocals. If I have to look away a little bit to see something on the screen, I'll try to keep this in frame. But there we go. We have the flight controller is fired up. The PDB is not, and it looks like my receiver is. And let's see, now that was a mistake on my part, because I really need my transmitter. So let's just unplug this, stop the video. Alright, sorry about that. We're back now. We got my Tyrannus here. I really kind of need to have the transmitter turned on. The reason being,
welcome to OpenTX.
This flight controller was already set up once, and the radio was configured too, and most of those settings will stick. I'll have to adjust a few things because it's a different frame, different ESCs, different motors, but the basics of it's already there. So one of the things I'll want to do when I connect here is to make sure that the receiver is actually still all in the right order. I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't be, but here we go. Let's just plug it in here and connect to CleanFlight. And there we go. Looks like all the lights are on. No smoke. Receiver's in working. And actually, I have the wrong. I got my RG210 selected here. I need to go down and select that J220. There we go.
No battery.
Now that's, yeah, okay, there we go. Now that's all.
No battery.
Going to give me the low battery warning. And,
no battery.
And we're just going to have to put up with that for a minute. I don't know how to turn it off.
No battery.
I'll apologize for that. Now let's disconnect.
No battery.
And reconnect.
Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered. No battery.
And that appears that we're connected.
No battery.
Let's boot into CleanFlight.
No battery. battery.
And there we are. I know you can't see this now.
No battery.
It's moving around. The flight controller is connected and working.
No battery.
Boy, I wish that had quit that. So the first thing
No
I'm going to
battery.
do is go into the receiver tab
No battery.
and just check that the
No battery.
throttle and yaw,
No battery.
pitch and roll are all still, yep, everything's still working just like it should.
No battery.
Excuse me. Okay.
No battery.
I think at this point we can probably turn off the receiver,
No battery.
and we're going to do that because I don't want to listen to it. Now we'll go to the Motors tab. I don't have any props on. I am going to say I understand. Turn that on. Move the master all the way up and get ready to bring it all the way down. Now, at this point, we're ready to plug in the battery. So here's hoping the magic smoke stays where it is. And it most certainly did. And there it is. Now we'll bring the throttle down. There's the tones. Now we're going to disconnect again. We'll reconnect. And there we go. Now, what I want to do here is going one motor at a time. I want to make sure they're in the right order, and I want to verify the direction of spin. Okay. There's number one. Which is actually spinning counterclockwise, I do believe. And yes, it is. That's counterclockwise, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be clockwise. And the minimum throttle on that is 1009. You'll see why that's important when we get into BLHeli Suite. Let's go to motor 2. That is also spinning counterclockwise. I kind of thought they'd spin clockwise, but they don't. And that one is at 1010. Now we'll go to motor 3. That one's also counterclockwise at 1010. Alright. And then finally number 4. And also counterclockwise. Came out 10:08 once. 10:09. These motors are very quiet so far. And now let's just run them all up once together. Whoa. Wow. Yeah, okay. Well, they were quiet at idle. Richard, you might be right. These might be some screamers. Okay, well, we're going to pause it here now, and the next section will be in BLHeli Suite. Alright, now before we begin, what we want to do here is make sure that, first of all, you'll notice we're COM3 115.200. Now I'm just going to connect again. I don't have the battery connected now, only the USB cable. I'll click, we'll connect, and you can see here, I think, the little model moves around, so we are connected. Now I'm going to disconnect. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to minimize CleanFlight and bring up BLHeli Suite. Now, in BLHeli Suite, the first thing you want to do, if you haven't ever done it before, is you'll have to make an interface. And you may have to download an updated Windows USB driver. If you've ever heard of Zadig, if you have a Tyrannus, or if you know anybody that does, it's the same thing. It's an easy thing to do. I'll probably make another video on it, or there are others out there that show you how to do it. It's really simple. But I go to this Make Interfaces tab. I already know that the little board I bought when I originally got my first set of Little Bees was this Nano with ATmega 328. Yours will say on it what it is. I'm going to click on Arduino BLHeli bootloader. And I'm going to say yes. And now it's going to try to connect. And it's not going to do it because I don't have the battery plugged in. So at this point, I'm going to connect the battery. System not in sync. Done, thank you. I'm just going to say okay. Now we're going to notice this letter C here. What we're going to do up here now is select the interface. We want the Scilab's BLHeli bootloader for CleanFlight. I'll click on that. Then we're going to go back to Scilab's ESC setup. Notice we're on COM3 here. And I'm going to click connect. Now you'll see here where it says multiple ESCs. We don't have anything in there yet. The reason is we need to read the setup. So we're going to read it. And there they are. It shows me all four. And actually this shows me FVT favorite, Little B 20 amp pros with revision 14.6 of the firmware. You'll notice that number 1 is a master and all the other 3 are slaves. We're just going to say okay there for right now. You see 1 read up successfully. That's pretty cool. Okay, now I have to take a look here. We're on 14.6, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Flash BLHeli, and it's going to show me the newest one. I'm looking for the latest available BLHeli revision, and it's already on 14.6 for the Little B 20 amp pros. Now these are Lumineer, so my original thought that these were really Little Bees was correct, but they are. I did get them from Lumineer, so that's something to keep in mind. All right, so we don't need to flash the firmware, but if I did, what would happen is that it would do number 1 first, and then it would just show me number 2. That's the cool thing about this, is all I would have to do is just keep saying okay over and over, and it would flash all 4 of them for me at once. I wouldn't have to come in here and do it again. It's a pretty cool thing to do. Now you'll notice one of the things we're going to do a couple of things here. One thing is that you see the motor direction here. Normal, reversed, and bidirectional. This firmware, if I had the right props and wanted to do it with this Seriously Pro Racing F3 mini flight controller, if I wanted to, I could make this a 3D bird. I don't want to do that. What I want to do though is, let's see, if I recall, in CleanFlight, the number 1 motor needs to go clockwise and all of mine go counterclockwise. So, first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to select number 1. That's number 2. There we go. Number 1. And I'm going to reverse the direction. Then I'm going to write the setup. Now, if I was going to do all of them, everything would be okay. But since I'm doing one at a time, I'll have to, they're not all 4 going to be the same. Anything where they're all 4 not going to be the same, then you can't just write over all of them. Now, number 4, you'll notice it's not right either. If I did number 1, 2 would be counterclockwise, 3 would be counterclockwise, and then number 4 would need to be reversed also to match number 1. So let's go to number 4, and come on, number 4. All right, there we go. Now it's selected and it's normal. I'm going to reverse it also. Then I'm going to say right setup, and number 4 is okay. There we go. Now I'm just going to double check each one. You can right click on these to individually select an ESC. And there's number 1, it's reversed. Now I'll check number 2, it's normal. Number 3 is normal, and number 4 is reversed. So I just set the direction of spin for the motors. Since they all spun counterclockwise, I needed to change 1 to clockwise and then 4 to clockwise, and that's basically what I did there. Now there's a couple other things we want to take note of here. I wrote down the minimum throttle that each of these would start up on as I was checking the spin and after I calibrated the ESCs. The highest value I got was 1010. And you'll notice on here, if I start on number 1, we get 1016, 1016 for number 2, 1016 for number 3. I should be pointing this out, this ppm minimum throttle. And then number 4, they're all at 1016. Pardon me. Now to select all 4 motors again, I'm going to left click on number 1 and read the setup. Oh, guess I need to left click on all of them. I thought I could select them all that way. There's 2. There we go. Now we got all of them. Now we'll read the setup again. Okay. Now I'm going to click check. There we go. Now we got all 4 of them for sure. And it should show here. There we go. We checked. Now let's read the setup. 1's okay. Well, I thought it was going to show something else besides that, but here's the thing. I want to go ahead and set my low throttle to the highest value that I got when I was checking these spin ups. So I'm going to change this to 1000. Oop, it only goes to 1008 or 1012. Okay, so what we'll do is that's as low as we can go that way, and we're going to write the setup. There we go. We just wrote that to all 4 ESCs. Now later on, this 1852, I'm not sure where that gets that, but I'll need to do something else a little later on, come back in here and make sure that they're all, because I think it's supposed to be a little higher than that, but it's that'll be okay. 1856 is the next one. I think 1852 is going to be okay. I should have read that while I was in. I could do this in the motor tabs here, but I don't like to. I like to do it in CleanFlight because, well, anyhow, let's move on. This beacon delay of 10 minutes, I want to turn that to never, because we don't want this thing. There we go, infinite. When you can use your motors for a beacon, the ESCs can send a pulse to them where some of that beeping you hear is actually the motor, but it heats them up. If you're not careful, this will turn into a lost model alarm, and you don't want that. So I'm also going to turn the beacon strength down, because I'm not going to use it anyway, but just in case it ever does go off, yeah, leave it about 70, because we do want to hear it when we first start up. Beep strength 40. The input polarity will remain positive. Now this demag compensation will be the next thing. No, actually it doesn't. We want to leave that alone. Here's what we wanted to see, and I'm glad it's there. It's damped light. You want to make sure that's turned on. It really enhances the performance of your motors. Your ESCs make your motors run a lot better. PWM input we don't need because I'm using S-Bus. You might need PWM input if you're using, like say the RG210 with a stock receiver that Richard puts in it. That does use PWM. You might need to turn that on. But the fact is, if you're using that, it will probably read it. It'll probably already be turned on. The motor timing's medium. We're going to leave that on. Brake on stop. Now we're going to leave that alone because the low RPM power protect. And what that does is if you hit a prop, after a little bit, that's supposed to shut your motor off. I don't rely on that. I make sure that I disarm my motors on my own. Temperature protection's on. This startup power, they have it at 3/4. I don't know why. I want 1. I want 100% of power when the motor starts up. I don't want it to start at 75% and kind of struggle to 100. I want it to do it now. The closed loop mode we'll leave alone. Closed loop gain we don't have to worry about in the motor gain of 1. That's good enough. And that's really pretty much it for initial setup. Like I said, I'll have to come back. I'll have to check this max throttle and make sure that that's set pretty close to what max throttle is. And now, just one last time, we'll write the setup. And there it is. Everything we changed, the few little things that we changed happened to all 4 motors at the same time. Didn't have to do them individually. And that's a really cool thing. Now, click OK. We'll disconnect. And tomorrow I'll get into a little bit more in CleanFlight and see if I can't just make sure everything else is working and that it's all. A couple of things I need to do is calibrate the gyro and the compass. I don't really need the compass, but I will. But I need a better, more level surface than I have right here to do it on, so that it'll be right. And then hopefully we'll step outside tomorrow and maiden. Thanks for watching. This is the Seriously Ghetto workshop. I'll see you next time.